Hi everyone, welcome back to Azure DevOps learning series. In the last session, we have learned about variables, what all different type of variables we have for the Azure DevOps pipeline, which include our runtime variables, YAML defined variables, then variable groups where you can define the multiple variables all together and refer it out. And the last one is the UI pipeline defined variables. In the today's session, we will learn about a very basic and different syntax issues that usually been occurred while creating a YAML pipeline. And it is mostly been occurred when we are getting it copied from some email or a Word document or from a site where some invisible spaces or a tab or a bad indentation create over YAML failed. So let's learn about few syntax issues or indentation issues from the real world example while creating the pipeline. So let's jump onto the pipeline, and you can see here I've created one YAML pipeline which include both the bad syntax versus a good syntax. So let's jump there. As part of our first example, if you can see the bad syntax, which is because of the wrong indentation, and this will fail because the step is not intended under the steps correctly. Now you can see as part of the pipeline where we have to be defined few tasks, it has been created as part of the steps that we discussed last time. Now here you can see I have created another steps or a first task with only a one space with the wrong indentation. And we discussed last time a YAML need a two-step indentation for any task or a script to be created under the steps. Now you can see here it is only one indentation and also a steps under the steps. So let's see if I can uncomment this one and see whether our pipeline is failing or it is working. Okay, as soon as I commit this one, and I will see like whether my pipeline, which I have already been created for the demo perspective, let's see whether this pipeline is running or not. You can see the pipeline failed because of some error. Let's see what the error is. YAML or Azure DevOps will help to be let us know while checking that whether the YAML is having a problem or not. Now you can see there is some problem with the YAML on the indentation while parsing it up. Now we need to be get it fixed. Now I'm going to be comment this part, which is the bad indentation or a bad uh, spaces, and then we will see after that whether it is working fine or not. Now you can see with the good syntax where you can see there is two steps, one, two steps indentation correctly been defined, one, two, followed by even the script or the next task that needs to be defined as one, two steps. That is the good syntax of defining the indentation and creating any task or a script under the YAML pipeline. As part of the second syntax issues, which is most common occurred and very hard to be identified by just visualizing it, which is a tab. As we know, the YAML does not allow a tabs. How you can see whether there is a tab or not, or if there is some issue occurred, how you can go ahead and fix it up. Now you can see as part of this bad syntax example, if I can uncomment this one, you can see there is a tab. If I can put just a next cursor, you can see it is directly going up to the hash line. But and by visualing it looks like okay, it has been two space indentation, but actually it's a tab, and that is very hard to be identified by just seeing or visualizing it. So as soon as I can save it out, commit this one, which looks okay to me while just looking it out, but from the pipeline perspective, if I'm trying to be trigger the pipeline again, now you can see error came up at a different line, which is line number 32, where it said there is some issue. Let's go ahead and figure it out. Now if I can go back to the pipeline at line number 32, which is the same line where I have a tab that has been defined which is not clearly been visible if we can just see the pipeline. Got it? Now let's fix it up with the good syntax. I am going to be comment this out, and the good syntax, as we discussed, it will always be a two-step indentation, 1 and 2. That is a good syntax of defining any script, any task within a YAML pipeline under the steps. Now coming to the next one, where while defining any string variable which is having a space, it is always be a good practice or a recommendation to put that under the quotes. Though at some places it will not give you an error, it will not fail your pipeline, but it is not a good practice to follow it up. Now you can see here, I put both the way where one display name, which is just a name that we want to be displayed for this particular script on a pipeline when we are executing it without a quote or with the quote. It may fail, may not fail with the unquoted one. As I mentioned it up, it may fail, but this is not a good practice to define a string variable having a space. Let's see whether it will fail or not, and then we'll figure it out. Now we will save it out. Ideally, the pipeline get triggered because we have set it up at trigger if there is any change on the main. So let's see if there is any error or the pipeline get triggered. Now we can see the pipeline. There is a one new run of the pipeline which trigger. It means syntax is working fine, even though without the code, but this is not a recommended good practice. Now you can see unquoted display and the quoted display both are running fine, but not a good practice to be followed, specifically where there is a space on the strings. The next one is comments breaking the step structure. As you can see in most of the pipeline, how the comments has been defined by giving the hash at a initial stage where the step has been initiated, not anywhere between the second task. However, in this example, sometime the issue occurred when we are not following the proper way of commenting it out, and you can see the comment has been given in between. So the problem might occur when you are going to be remove this comment or looking at your application indentation or the YAML indentation. This is not giving you the correct way. You can see the extra space coming up, which is not easily to be identified. So always a recommendation is not to give a comment at in between of the task. It is always be at the step level, which is start of the line, so that it can easily be identified, and as soon as you can fix it up, all the required indentation will remain the same. It will not create any issue. Now you can see the good example where if there is any comment, that is always be at the start, and everything, all the indentation will remain the same. So that is the safe way of commenting. Coming to the last one, which is pretty common and the best practice again to be followed up, else your pipeline will break again, which is how to define the key value pair. Now you can see on the bad syntax where the key value that has been defined here with the script as a key and echo missing colon as a value. Now you can see there is a missing of colon here, which differentiate between the key and the value. So if there is any missing key value syntax, pipeline again will fail and give an error that needs to be fixed up. So let's see. As soon as I run the pipeline, it will say okay, everything looks okay, because it's not a parse issue or a other issue. It's a key value pair. But as soon as you start trying to be run the pipeline, it gives the error at that particular line, which needs to be fixed it up. So let's see if we can go back, edit the pipeline, and fix the issue either by commenting or adding a column right here. Okay, which if you can see at the bottom, the good syntax where the colon is been there, and then commit the change. As soon as commit the change, ideally the pipeline should be triggered automatically because there is a change on the main. Now you can see the pipeline got triggered itself, and see with all those different issues that we have identified whether everything is running fine or not. Now you can see step commented is also working, safe commenting is working. Key syntax, after fixing it up the column, the steps of that particular script is also work pretty fine. There is no issue on that. So these are all the few syntax issues of real world issues that has been occurred multiple times while creating a YAML pipeline or getting it copied from somewhere. These common issues occur, and how you can get it fixed in order to make sure your pipelines are working fine. Thank you so much. On our upcoming session, we will talk about how to be defined and when to be defined the job and a stages, and what is the use and where it can be utilized. Thank you so much.